All right, guys. Hey, welcome to the Crow School Real Estate Hour. I am your host, Dean Harris. Got Douglas Skipworth with me today. How you doing?
Doing great, man.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, as always. Appreciate you joining me today. Last week, we talked a whole lot about you. We interviewed you, got into some good details about your history and experience, and I think from an info standpoint, it's a great show.
Okay.
I mean, we really got to
It
learn.
felt a little bit like,
Yeah.
a little,
going in for the exam.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good. I'm happy to share where I've been, what I've seen, what I've done.
I just think it's
where I'm going.
Yeah, that's the biggest key is where we're going.
Because this is our life.
Big time.
You
and I have had some talks this morning about life and real estate, and
we're both young, and this is a huge real estate is a huge part of our future.
Oh yes, yeah. And I was excited that they could get to know you a little better.
Yeah.
So happy to have you guys with us today. We're going to talk about the market. We're going to try to dive into our real estate market and get a good idea of what's happened this year, what's happening next year, and just kind of take a good deep dive. Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, you can listen to the podcast on any of those formats. We'll post it right after the show here. Facebook has got a lot of videos. Of course, I have a radio voice.
You do.
Radio face.
And face.
Radio face. That's what I'm
Yeah, that's right.
Got a radio face. But a radio face. But you guys tune into the videos or go to YouTube or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, and you can listen to the rest of them. So today, let's talk about the market. Ever since, this is more just kind of shooting the breeze today, but ever since COVID came about, prior to COVID, gangbusters, right?
Yeah, it was great. Things were going great.
35 a month sales, prices were climbing, investor interest was at the highest I've seen it, even now, right before there.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. The market had come back. I mean, there was the 2005, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Then it kind of came crashing down.
Oh, yeah.
But then we were riding it up and we got pretty high. And then COVID, who stopped the music? Where are the chairs?
Man, it was. I'll tell you, I've never
cliff.
had anything like that. In 2008, when I was in it, it was a slower decline. I mean,
True.
it still slowed quickly,
Yes.
but it wasn't like, we canceled 20 something deals in March of 20.
In April was
April of
terrible.
20.
Well, at the end of March, into April is like somebody picked the old record player, just picked it up off there.
No one knew. Every comment was, what's going to happen?
We don't know.
We don't know and those are valid.
And it was kind of, if you remember, it was kind of like that all year, because as soon as it was COVID this, COVID that, vaccine, sheltering in place, mask.
Are the tenants going to pay?
Are the tenants going to pay? Are they going to foreclose? Is the eviction moratorium? And then it was election.
Then it turned into the
all
election.
that.
What are we going to do now?
It was a mess for the last 9 months of 2020.
Big time. Now, this year, I feel like
2021. I mean, if I had one word,
that's what I'm trying
phrase,
to figure out.
I would, at least starting the year, I would say seller's market.
Yes.
And nothing like it in the past, post crash. Nothing like the 6 month window that was January, February through July, August. It was the prime time to sell at the height of the past 15 years.
It was almost the perfect storm for a seller, because it seemed as if all the hedge funds, all the buyers, they had all this cash and they're just holding it.
They held it for a year
and
or
then
9 months of COVID, and then they exploded.
And the values went up. So a lot of people say, hey, what's happened? The demand is that high. It is high, but there were some other factors that caused that. The biggest one is the hedge funds and buyers and private buyers and individual buyers holding that cash.
Yeah, and remember the inventory. I mean, we got the MAR inventory. I mean, it went from 3,000 to 2,000 from the middle of COVID to the beginning of the year. So, I mean, it went
6 month stretch.
It went down a third from 3,000 to 2,000.
In 6 months.
In 6 months. So when you started the beginning of the year with all that pent up demand in the limited supply, it was like multiple offers, above asking price, time on the market, waiving contingencies. That's exactly what I have. It was a frenzy.
Yes.
And
we're still kind of on the back end of that. I don't want to
We're
jump
on the
ahead.
no. It's September. I looked at the MAR stats. They haven't posted October. We're right at the beginning of November of 2021 when we're filming this. But in September, it was July was the peak.
Yes.
August went down, but September came back up. So, but not as high as July. So, I mean, so September was good. October, I can't wait to see them. I'm going to be surprised if they're as high as September.
Without COVID or any exterior factors, October's soft every year.
Okay.
It's soft every year. And
it felt
might
softer.
It's soft every year
summer.
Because I know why. I mean, it's so funny, but Halloween and
Back to
holidays
school
start. Back
and
to
football
school, football games and traveling and people and stuff. So October is historically softer. November is kind of soft, but as you know, my Decembers have been scorching.
They can be really red hot, man.
And I guess it's people want to spend that money before the end of the year is probably what happens. But anyway, so I feel like all of what you just said is 100% accurate. We're coming into now. It's an odd time, I think. The demand is still here, but it is an odd time because I do feel like, and we hadn't even gotten to our notes yet, which I love.
Yeah.
I do feel like we're in a leveling off period. Somebody asked me that the other day or Monday, I think, and I did say, I think we're not going down.
No.
Not at all. But I don't think we can just stay on this scorched earth tour of price rising and going up. I just don't. There's just no room to do it.
I agree with you. I would leveling, plateauing, kind of like, hey, we're doing something. At the beginning of 2021, it was like being in one of those. If you were a seller, it was like being in a money machine.
Big time.
It wasn't if you were going to get it, right?
Yeah.
It's how much. It's just how much am I going to get?
Yes. Yeah.
It does not feel I haven't seen all the data, but it seems like, again, the inventory, remember, it went down.
Yep.
It has been on the rise since February.
Yes.
It has gone up just slightly. So rising inventory, things are staying on the market just a little bit all longer.
Yeah.
Asking prices in some places are coming down. Like
appraisals
are capping out, and it just, people aren't waiving contingencies. You're not getting multiple offers.
Not as much.
Now, not as much.
The desirable house in Bartlett that's priced fairly,
sure,
it's going in seconds.
Yeah.
But if there's any questions at all about it or whatever, we are seeing a little bit of leveling, and those things that you mentioned. So you just mentioned the inventory is going back up. What that is telling you guys is that people are now selling. They're realizing that this is the time. You guys have probably gotten videos from me. I've sent out a half a dozen of them saying, hey guys, if you are going to sell or want to sell, here's what I've always said. If you've been thinking about selling for 2 years and you think you're going to think about it for another year or two, then now is the time. Right now. Don't wait 2 years because, man, you're going to be disappointed.
Man, 2021 seller's market. That was the one word. One word right now, sell immediately. Or be ready to buy.
One or the other.
Get prepared. If you're a buyer, be prepared, be looking.
Yeah.
If you're a seller, now's the time.
Now is the time.
Immediately. I told you I've got 2 that I need to unload. I sold 10, probably maybe a couple more at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Top dollar, awesome.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh my goodness, now
is the time.
Got one that we struggled with in the summer, got under contract, had to lower it or something, but just, this doesn't feel right. And now I'm like, I need to get now is the time to get these other 2 out of my.
Is a perfect example, really, of our market.
Yeah.
You and I both talked beforehand and said, we should have no trouble selling this.
Yeah.
You did a rehab on it, looked great. We should have no trouble. It didn't sell right away. You know what I mean?
Now we priced it.
We priced
at the
it aggressively, and it didn't sell right away.
Yeah,
and then we did tinker with it and dropped it back, and it sold. So that is a perfect example of what I think is the market. I'm having hard when I send these houses out. A lot of you guys who get these houses from me, the team sends me an address and a lot of info, and I'm pulling comps. And more times than not, I'm going back to them saying, I can't send this out. There's no comps to support what this listing agent is putting on there. Now, I'm not blaming the listing agent every time because a lot of times these sellers are list it for this or don't.
Correct.
But I can't find comps for a lot of these. So that's what you see. the sellers are now they're 6 months ago.
That's right.
They're 6 months ago in their mind, but I'm just telling you, my man, it is way different.
It is different. I remember you talking about big sellers, quote sellers, tire kickers.
Yeah.
Just wanted to see what the pricing was, and it was sky high.
Yeah.
And they kept going back and getting multiple offers. You remember?
Yep.
Like hedge funds, private equity groups were offering more and more and more and more. Well, we have a buddy, remember, he had an offer, and then he got another hedge fund, kind of come in, going to pay more, top dollar.
And what happened?
It fell through.
That's right.
And then he had to go back kind of hat in hand to the other guy and say, hey, my sweetheart deal fell through. And of course it did.
Because he took a lower deal.
He had to take the lower deal. And the other guys who looked at that, they're not what the market isn't what it was.
It's softening.
It is soft. That's a great word. It's softening.
It's softening. And I have now been in this 20 years. If you can believe that. I got licensed in May of 2001. I have been through enough of these to see and to recognize now. I didn't know it at first, right? It's just 2007 came and just slapped me right in the mouth.
Yeah. Oh man.
This is what that is. And then 2010, 11 came around and it started getting a little bit better. And then now we're dipping again, or we dipped again with COVID. And then now it's back. I am able to see these types of trends. And all these investors have gotten 4 or 5 videos from me, sell now. So I do.
Yes.
I do think, and you're seeing, you just showed us the inventory is picking up a little bit. Let's hit on our nuts, or we'll just sit here and just shoot the breeze.
Yeah.
2021, what we saw, kind of what was expected. So we talked a little bit about what we saw and the peak this summer,
Yes.
was there. And I do think we're softening on our prices a little bit. How do you think this will be affected in 22? Like, do you think we're going to have some shrapnel and leftover scar tissue going into 22 from 21?
I think it's going to be. It seems like it would be status quo. I mean, I'm trying to keep in touch through other podcasts, Bigger Pockets, kind of the scuttlebutt there, magazines, conferences, trying to talk and look at the data from MAR and elsewhere.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody's saying it's still a supply-demand issue. There's still more demand than there is supply. The supply is not coming on board fast.
That was so lopsided, though.
It was so lopsided,
forever to get back.
and it's going to take forever. But it's not as the pent up demand. The urgency is not there like it was. So it seems to me, not being a economist or predictor or prognosticator, to say it seems like it will probably be more of the same, a little steady. Which is why I'm like, man, sell now. Because rates will tick up. Everybody knows that rates will tick up. Things will happen.
I believe you're right. I don't think we're going to go into Jan 1 and then there's something completely different. I mean, I think that the demand is going to stay the same. My gauge of demand is how many of those new clients from Bigger Pockets or these that want to call and talk about Memphis. And I've had 7 this week.
Yep.
7 new ones.
Awesome.
This week. This is Wednesday.
Yeah.
I got 2 more lined up for this afternoon.
That's
so
right.
It's 9 in a week.
Good.
The demand and the people that are wanting to invest in real estate is not changing.
Not changing.
Our supply is slowly getting better.
Slowly getting better. Still tight.
Our price point is leveled.
It's leveled. It's not out of the control,
it's leveled,
ratcheting up.
And I believe that the kind of product that's out there is changing a little.
Ooh, for better, for worse.
I think it's for better.
Yeah. Higher quality. What are you? I mean, when you're saying the product,
way more of the wholesaling.
Yes.
Way more
Yes.
of the guys
Yeah.
getting the homes from direct to seller, either sticking a little lipstick on a peg and flipping it, or they're doing a full blown rehab.
Yeah.
I'm seeing both. Like
I agree.
Last 5 or 6 Whitehaven houses I've sent out have been full rehabs from other investors that they're trying to sell to either a homeowner. See, that's the advantage for them is they do a full rehab. A homeowner can buy that.
Sure.
Right. So they're opening it up to a different buyer pool, investor or homeowner. And that, when those two get to going, then the prices do go up.
Yep.
Because mom and daddy and little Sally and Susie got to have a place to live and they can pay a little bit more. Whereas our investors, out of state think they can. That's kind of what happened, right? I mean, that's how we got to this, because our supply went so down or it went so low, and our homeowners and our investors are now battling over the same houses because of some of these flips. I am seeing a better product.
And it made me think about appreciation. And I've always thought there are 3 tailwinds to appreciation in my mind, right? Okay. Location. Yep. Like we've talked about when we did a zip code breakdown, 38122. Mm-hmm. Like there is a tailwind to that location. Mm-hmm. We talked about Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
Blue Oval City. We hadn't talked about that yet, but that's the $6 billion Ford plant that's going out 40 miles east of Memphis. That's going to have an effect on Arlington and other parts. That's a location tailwind. Then there's just the value add tailwind, like where you come in and buy something low and you put a new roof on it. You update it. Floors. You get a higher rent. So you force appreciation through your value add. You know that from personal experience.
Yep.
Then the market appreciation to me is always, I always consider that one kind of, you got to be lucky.
Yes. And some people have.
Short term, it's the luck of the draw, and I think we've seen that tailwind right now through the market of people getting that appreciation that they didn't expect. People 5 years ago did not expect Memphis to do what it has done over the past 5 years.
No, from an appreciation standpoint. Douglas, I used to say, hey guys, if you're coming here, it's cash. We're cash flow king. I used to say it all the time. Don't count on appreciation, but cash flow king. Last 3 or 4 years, we've seen it.
Crazy.
Yes.
And so I think that we people got lucky. Long term, I think you can position yourself in the asset class to benefit from single family rentals. I mean, this thing for the long term is going places.
Yes.
So if you're in it for the long haul, you're going to get appreciation. But short term, it's a hit or miss. And I think we've peaked on the rapid appreciation that we've seen for the past 5 years.
I'll be shocked if we have 8 or 9% this year. Like we've seen the last 3 or 4 years.
I don't know how we can. With rents can't go up that fast. Buyers aren't clamoring for houses like they were. I think it's more going to be a steady. There's less uncertainty, right? There was so much uncertainty this time last year. And every day we didn't know. I remember we were like, the election's coming.
Oh, Douglas,
I mean, COVID, what are we doing?
I'll never forget you and I talking. Well, it's the beginning of the month. Let's hope that rent comes in. You remember talking about that? Like,
yes.
Wonder if people are going to pay rent. Wonder if
is the stimulus going to go? This is the month. Unemployment's going to run out. On and on. Now it's like, okay, everybody's learned to live with it. It's been almost a year of new politics, and everybody's saying, okay, the world didn't end. It's okay.
Right.
There's just less urgency to drive things, which again is why I would sell if I were a seller.
I keep going back to that. But that is the key to this podcast to me is I'm giving you the market update, but the real takeaway from this is if I've thought about selling or I'm going to, I should do it now.
Yes.
You should do that now. But if not, hold on. Like I'm not sitting here going, hey, everybody should sell, get out. But my point is that if that's in your mind and in your business thought for the next 12, 14 or 12, 24 months, it's now.
And I got the one under contract. I said, I got 2 more that, man, I've been thinking, like, do I wait till a turnover like I did with that one? These other 2 are still occupied. I'm like, nah, this is the time. Now is the time.
So I do love hearing that because now we're not just telling you this. We're practicing this.
Well, and that's what I wanted. I said when we started about like, we're in this is our future. It's about real estate. I mean, I think that's the value add we have on this show.
Yes.
Right. Is that,
yes,
this is what we are doing.
Every day,
all day, every day. And
I think about hardly anything else. It's embarrassing. My family in the NFL.
Yeah, there you go.
That's about it.
I love it. But yeah, so it's like, this is what we're doing all day, every day. And we're putting our money where our mouth is in so many different ways. Yeah. And one of them is like, hey, yeah, I'm selling now.
Right this second.
Not everything, just a couple that I don't want. I need to unload or dump or get rid of, reposition, take that cash at a higher and put it over into something else.
Yes. What is there a product that you're seeing or that we've talked about that is sticking out over others? Is there a strategy or is there a product? Is there a way of doing this that you're either seeing is working well or is not working well?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say too.
Yeah, working well or not working well, or something that people are having a preference over, versus one thing or another.
My observation would be value add is awesome.
Yeah.
Like that is the That is the big, like if there's the opportunity, do value add.
Burr.
Whether it's burr, whether it's a fix and flip, whatever you're doing, value add it. And I would say if I were staying away from something, not to bash, I would just stay away from turnkey because we're at the top of the market, right? And if you're paying
really at the top,
if you're paying nosebleed prices, like the turnkey folks from 5 years ago, they're made out like bandits because they bought at the top of the market then, but we had appreciation. Don't know if we're going to have it. So if you're paying the top of the market now, and if it's not cash flowing, I don't know. And I mean, people paying, less than 1% for turnkey houses.
Significantly
less. I would be very cautious going with both eyes wide open, asking a lot of questions before I jumped into a turnkey in a big way right now. It just doesn't seem like now's the time.
I had a call with a guy yesterday, bought a couple of turnkey properties here. Is now, I bought them 2 years ago.
Okay.
He's now having trouble getting out. He had some life changes. There's not really an exit strategy with that. Here's the other thing you mentioned. That sounds repetitive because I've said that before.
Yeah.
Here's what I didn't ever realize, and something I was bringing up today, and it's something that I've heard from several investors now that have bought turnkeys. When a turnkey provider, and by the way, we have friends that are turnkey providers. I'm not at all saying
not trying to bash.
That can't work.
No.
You can make it work. There's a certain investor that's a perfect product for. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking, I'm not speaking to those guys.
Just go eyes wide open, ask questions.
Yes.
That's all we're saying.
And I'm not I'm not really speaking to those guys that are into that. What I'm hearing them say is, "Hey, Dean, here's my problem. When the house was finished rehab, and the tenant came and looked at it, and the market rent was about $850, but the turnkey provider got him to pay $1050 or $1095. It was a brand new house, and they came in. He goes, and I paid a $1095 price.
Correct.
He goes, here's the catch. After they're in there for a year and a half,
it's not a brand new house anymore.
It's not a brand new home anymore. And now the next tenant that comes in doesn't see the value that this tenant saw.
Can't sustain those high rents.
Can't sustain the high rent because I'm not going to sustain the quality of the home.
Correct.
So
I completely agree.
So now at first you're in the honeymoon stage with turnkey. We're holding hands and we're walking on the beach and we all have a little pina colada with our umbrella and everything's great.
Yeah, I love
it. Now you've gone up and down the beach a few times and your drink's empty and it's done and it's like, what am I going to do? Your feet hurt. It's hot and sweating. That's essentially what buying turnkey reminds me of. And think of this, not just one. Think if you got 10. Now all of a sudden your rent goes from X to X and it's 20% lower.
8X. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
So now what? Okay. That is an app that's not every scenario in turnkey. No. But that is one that I've heard. I have seen that coming.
Yeah.
The other thing, like what you said, I have talked to investors and I'm seeing is the value add. The burr strategy is what more people are wanting to do. They're finding it hard to, as everyone always has, to trust the full process, right? Dean, you're going to tell me, and this is where I've changed the last 12 months in doing this. I am not the single go-to source of info. Right. I don't want to be for that person. I'll source the property for you. I'll introduce you to a few contractors that you don't have to use.
Yeah.
They'll do the work for you and get it done. What I've been telling people is this: don't have me or the contractor come back in at the very end and tell you things are done. Right? Hey, it's all finished. Dean, you're a great guy. Go see it. Yeah, it's done.
That's like asking a barber for a haircut. Yes, it's time for your haircut. I'm glad you asked.
Right. You ever heard one say no?
No,
actually, you're high and tight, bud. You're good. Yeah. Sit down. Come on.
The house is good. Pay me thanks.
I have now, because of that, not that we didn't have an issue. My point was I'm trying to go over the top for these clients.
Yes.
Feel comfortable. Have a third party. If it's a property manager, if it's us, have Taylor in the group go look at it. Yeah. Believe me, they give me no favors on deals, on houses. They have to be by the book.
Keep it to the standard.
To keep it to the standard. If it's another property management company that you're using, no problem. Have them come and check it out.
Right.
Then pay your guy. Then finish up the So there's some ways.
Great advice.
Yeah, there's some ways that we can address the I'm concerned, the trust, because I ain't gonna lie to you. if someone's trying to sell me a flip in California and I got to do a project out there with a construct, I'm nervous about it, right? The whole thing, because I just don't know what's going on. So having that third party person come and check that out is a way that I've been adding another layer of comfort and security for the client.
What was that? Ronald Reagan, trust but verify.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, I trust you. I trust everything.
Just gotta verify it.
We're gonna verify it though, and you might do it for a few times and say, okay, I got it. I don't care about that part. I want you to find that comfort level. That's the biggest thing that I'm having right now. So people want a burr, but they come to me and they're like, I want a burr, Dean, but man, there's a lot of moving parts. Sure is.
Yeah.
Right. We are equipped to handle that.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
These layers of security that I'm adding through there should help. So
yeah, for sure.
The burr is what I'm seeing. I'm having more multifamily conversations.
Okay, I see it.
We flipped, Alyssa and I
yep.
flipped the property on DuPont, which was great, 17 units. We're doing a 10 unit right now.
Nice.
There is more demand for multifamily.
And you know, I'm personally upgrading a 12 unit. So owned it and just putting into it exterior, interior, paving, driveway.
Will your rents go up a little bit?
Oh man. 35%, 40%.
Which that will pay for your upgrades
and then some.
a couple of years.
Yeah.
Which is
awesome.
fantastic. So I am seeing the multifamily. Where I'm seeing a halt is in commercial. People aren't using commercial space like they used to.
No, I wouldn't. We've talked about this. It seems like we talk about this every time. It's like it's just the opportunity cost. Like there's too much uncertainty with commercial to know.
Yeah, but
so
look at home.
Why don't you just go? There's still opportunity in multifamily. There's still opportunity in single family value add. There's too much opportunity elsewhere that's easier pickings.
Big time.
You know, than to go try to find the perfect commercial space. Now, like we said on zip codes, I mean, if you find something and it makes sense, well of course, go take advantage of it.
Every investment is a deal if you buy it right.
Yes, in the right location with the right. But as far as spending your time looking and trying to build the portfolio around commercial right now, it'd just be a lot more difficult, a lot more challenging. Not to mention that commercial in Memphis, in the greater Memphis area, your pool is so much smaller to choose from.
And if you're looking for long term, what does commercial look like long term? I'd buy an Amazon truck right now before I bought a commercial building right here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the commercial. Yeah. Do you go buy deodorant at CVS anymore? No, you order it on Amazon.
Yeah, comes to the door.
That's what I'm saying. So
right,
the commercial part of it.
Oh, how many Walgreens are around
here
are closed?
Could not imagine. That's an excellent point.
Like, why did Walgreens close? They were there. I'd always go like, "Ooh, this corner isn't healthy or happy."
Right.
No, because they're always at the corner healthy and happy, and they're closed
right down here.
A mile and a half over here. So yeah, it doesn't make.
Commercial's taking a dip, and my last example, Hilton is a huge presence here. They got 5 enormous buildings right off of Colonial over there.
Yeah, my buddy hadn't been back in year and a half.
My friend is the head chef over there for the catering. Okay,
He was.
He goes, my catering went from a huge buffet kitchen style thing to box lunches. Yeah, he goes, that's all we're doing right now. I was like, so what's going to happen? He goes, Dean, they're not going to renew this lease.
Lettuce.
Yes, he goes, well, they're not going to renew the leases of these huge buildings.
Oh, why would they?
I mean, it's like 300,000 square feet.
It's huge. It's awesome. I mean, they were a great presence over in East Memphis.
All right, so now think of that owner.
It stinks.
Could you imagine?
Stinks to be them.
I mean, they got to pay the lease out, but how about the next one? So anyway, the commercial. It's not a whole lot of what we do here, but the commercial part of it, I wanted to address it. I do think is
agree. Yeah, I would. I'm avoiding it if you can.
Big time. Banking industry. Last thing we'll talk about today. I am. Let's talk about the banking industry. What we're seeing and what is happening there. I am still seeing banks that want to loan money.
I would say, again, if I were putting it kind of in one word, I'd say borrow now. Because banks are
sell now and borrow now.
Borrow now. Like we said that as a buyer. Like if you're a buyer, like be positioning yourself. Be ready. Go get your banking relationships. Get pre-qualified or get your money lined up. Go borrow now while rates are still cheap. Lenders are still competitive with each other. So you've got really great terms. You can go for a long time. You can go with low rates. You can probably do, depending on who your borrower is, but you can negotiate some of that stuff. Now is the time to borrow.
If most of our listeners and investors are long-term buy and holds. So I don't want to be the guy that sits here and tells you, FOMO, right?
Right.
Fear of missing out. But the rates aren't going to stay at 3.5 and 4 for forever. They can't.
They can't. Now, has it been longer than I thought they would?
Yeah.
Man, for sure. Have I benefited from it? Thank the Lord.
A lot of factors.
It's been amazing that they've been this low for 15 years.
Yeah.
And sometime they'll go down. But I just lock it in. If you got long-term debt, just lock it in.
Yeah.
And that's what we did a couple years ago. And have rates gone up since then? Not really.
You're right.
But will they? Absolutely.
Sure.
Is it going to be tomorrow? I don't know. But I know it's not today. And so because it's not today, I'm going to lock it in.
Bankers are, you're not having to, give a blood sample. I mean, they want your records and stuff, but it's not nearly as difficult. I mean, you take a deal to a bank now.
They'll entertain it.
Where
and they might
They might not have a perfect background.
Right.
But man, you take a smoking hot deal to them, and they know that if they have to end up with it, that it's a good thing to get rid of it. I mean, they're doing it. Banks are doing it.
Yes.
So
it is a good time to be a borrower.
Man, could you imagine running a bank, being at a bank now? Those guys are cashing in. All the guys that work at these banks are,
it's a good time to be a lender. It's a little competitive, but it's a good time to be in the debt market.
Yes.
As a borrower or lender. So it's you just never know what the future holds, and that's why you got to act today. That's why kind of the seller thing, like sell now, borrow now, look to buy now. The
relationships I'm building with my bank now are like nothing I ever understood. I never understood it beforehand. Before I started buying and borrowing like this, now I owe a lot of money.
Yeah, right. We've talked about that before. Yeah.
That's uncomfortable if you just look at the actual number. But but I wouldn't have it any other way. The money's so cheap. Even if I had the cash to buy, I wouldn't pay cash. My cash can make me more money, right, than that interest. So the relationship that I've developed with the bank, it goes as far as I'm having lunches with the banker. I'm asking him about his because things are going to change.
The banks are notorious, Dean, for loaning you an umbrella when it's sunny outside and taking that umbrella back as soon as the clouds roll in. And it's sunny outside right now, right? And so it's like, hey, get an umbrella now. Like who brings an umbrella on a sunny day? The smart person.
Not sure I've ever heard a more perfect analogy.
That's what they do.
They're eager to loan you money right now while the sun's out. I'm sorry. They're eager to loan you an umbrella while the sun's out.
Yes.
Here's 5 umbrellas.
Here's 5 umbrellas.
The second the little cloud comes rolling in, they want those umbrellas back. I am building that relationship with my banker, so one day he doesn't come to me and yanks the carpet out from under me.
And the carpet got yanked for 6 weeks during COVID, at least.
For sure.
I mean, like April to May, June. I mean, banks were freaking out because you got to remember, not only are there real estate guys, their clients, but they've also got restaurants that are clients. They've also got other types of retail businesses.
We don't think about that.
Entertainment and such. And so any destination hotels, those things got clobbered.
Clammed up.
And the banks took it, but they saw so many other people with real estate. Hey, this really worked out for real estate. They saw the online retail, and then they saw all the stimulus, whether they were PP loans for businesses or whether they were.
So will they
checks.
shift that? This is great. So will they shift that? Because the bank's only got so much money they're going to loan. And you just made a great point. It was in a certain area at a certain time when those areas aren't doing so hot, but we're seeing over here. So let's shift this money over. Well, that can happen again.
Yes,
they can want to shift that money out of real estate and back into something else.
They said it, because I've had this. I feel like I've been banking for 25 years because that's where I started, and I borrowed and I lend, and we do that. But they say the lenders go from unjustified pessimism to unsustainable optimism, and like you just try and catch the pendulum when it's in this area because it just swings back and forth like a metronome. You know what
it reminds me of? It reminds me of the bookies in Vegas. And I'll tell you why. They don't care who wins or loses. They never do.
No.
The goal for Vegas is to have an even amount of bets on both sides so they can make that juice.
Just a little bit off the top every time.
And there's no losers in that,
Yes.
right? That reminds me of the banking business. Like if they're on what you just said, that pendulum, up here, you're no good. Catching them right in here is kind of where we're at now.
It's kind of where we're at right now. We're probably at some point, I don't think it's going to get to an unsustainable optimism.
No.
I feel like, they were unjustified pessimism. They just, it was like the kid who's like, got all their toys and stormed out when COVID came.
Yeah.
I mean, they just locked up
Yeah.
shop
Yeah.
because they didn't know. They were scared, super scared, and not looking for opportunities.
And some of those guys were in it in 2008 that are in it now. So they're it's PTSD from what happened back then. And guys,
it was totally different.
Oh, this is night and day different. I mean, Douglas, I'll never forget a lender came in one day. Hey, 535 credit scores now I can get approved, stated income, 100% financing. And people wonder what happened.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
That's what happened. Then
That's not now. This is way different. So bankers, the relationship now, I would my advice to you now is go further with the relationship with your banker. Make sure he knows you, your wife, your kids, where y'all go to school and church, and where everything. So when that does swing, because it inevitably will, when it swings, you're prepared. He's confident in you. You're paying your notes on time. The last thing you want to do is say, "Hey, you owe me $4 million, and you got 90 days to give it back to me."
And I will say a couple other things that I learned away, and you've probably seen this as well. I was fortunate and blessed not to have to borrow until I started buying real estate.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this until I just thought you borrow money, you set it up on auto draft on the first of the month, they take it out and you pay your loans.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that makes you the bank's very best customer. It's like a renter who pays on time, auto draft on the first and doesn't call in. They fix all their minor problems themselves.
Ideal
tenant. So you're an ideal bank client. So if you're doing that, if you're paying your note on time, every time, auto draft.
Which is how I have it set up every time.
The bank, you're one of the bank's very best customers.
Yeah.
And then they look at you in a much more favorable light. And then you get opportunities to increase your borrowing with them, or as we benefited in the past when those banks took back properties. Now, I'm not saying they're going to take back properties now, but they would take back and they would go, "Oh, who are our best borrowers who are doing this? Oh, let's go to them. Maybe they'll want to buy this property for us."
Do you credit that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do you credit that as the key to your scaling?
It was a huge factor in scaling, was having the awesome relationship that you just described with the bank. And we're still benefiting from that. Whether we got one banker who we know, I was just talking to one of our colleagues about what should I do for that guy for Christmas, for the holidays? Mm-hmm. He has been so good to me. Mm-hmm. I want to do something special for him. Mm-hmm. And this isn't like, "Hey, Merry Christmas." This is like, do you do a vacation for him and his wife?
Yeah.
Like, this is immense what he has done for our business. And the thankfulness I feel for it is like, how do you express that?
Talk to my wife last night or 2 nights ago. What can we do for our banker?
Yes, something special, because they can take very good care of you, and they can make your life so much better than you ever imagined. We talked about that. Sometimes you just don't know until you assume, you think everything's like this, and then you get a relationship where somebody treats you like you're a king.
Yes.
And they value you.
Yes.
Versus somebody who has been kicking you around, but you didn't know it because that's all you know.
That's all you knew.
And then you go over here and you're like, "Oh man,
oh, wow, the grass is greener."
The grass is greener in the right relationships.
You and I have talked, and I of what my banker's done for us. It's been life-changing. It's the relationship that we formed with him has been remarkable. He knows everything about me and what we're doing. I recommend positioning yourself with your banker.
Yes.
I don't
agree.
To wrap up the whole banker thing.
Or lender. I mean, if it's a private lender,
that's fine.
It's whoever your source for money is, could be an equity partner lender type of person, private money, somebody, whoever your lender partner is, strategic partner.
Yeah. I can't credit it enough. So wrapping up the whole thing, I believe we're going to see a lot of the same coming in 22, at least for the first 6 months, right?
Yes. I don't see anything that's going to change it.
No. Our demand is going to stay the same, I believe. I'm having, like I said earlier, 5 and 6, 7 phone calls a week with new investors wanting to buy. The demand is going to stay, I think.
It's not going to go away.
No.
There's no way the demand... I don't see the demand going away. Will it increase dramatically? I don't think so.
No, I think
it will get steady, if not increase.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of new clients wanting to do this, I think we're going to be right there.
No doubt.
Our pricing, I believe, through this entire year, and maybe I'm wrong here, I do not think we're going to do this show next November and go,
what just happened?
Prices just
went up.
Man,
we should have bought. I think we'll say, hey, look, man, Mars tells us prices went up 0.3% over the past 12 months.
So we'll see a little bit, but I don't. You're going to see some more houses come up. You're going to have. I'm hoping after people hear this and they're thinking about selling that we'll see a little increase. But I just think it's going to be a little bit more of the same. If you just heard me just say that, that's pretty bland, and I'm not giving you any information. But the past 40 minutes we've been talking, we've told you, we've explained to you what's happening, and I almost think it's their fault if they don't listen and do it. I mean,
yes, and I'm with you. And it's like, to me, to sum it up, it's like if you had to sum it up right now, it's like there's no time like the present.
Yeah,
like act whatever you're gonna do.
Yeah,
act now.
Yeah.
If you're gonna buy, be positioning yourself, doing the banker thing, are you gonna do the burr, get everything, get your team lined up.
Yeah.
If you're gonna sell now.
Now.
If it just act now. I love. There's a guy, I can't remember. He was the bigger pockets. He was the Robert Kiyosaki. He was the Grant Cardone 25 years, 30 years ago. Guy, Robert, I can't remember his name. He was like, don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait.
Oh, I've seen that several times.
That's it. I mean, it's like, don't wait, guys. Like, do it now. We talked about the planting the tree. If you hadn't done it, do it today. If you hadn't done any of this, do it today.
I think on both sides. And very rarely have I come on here and been like, hey, you're buying and selling market right now. I mean, you're a seller, you're going to get more than what you probably ever could have. If you're buying, there's opportunity to get into the city with the raised rents and the area and the locations and the products that you're buying. You heard me say that they're getting better.
Yes.
They're rehabbing them. The products
Correct.
are at an all-time high, right?
Yes.
From a condition standpoint and what we're looking at, the products are an all-time high. So to me, if the entry level is safer than it ever has been.
For sure.
Right? I think so. You can go buy a home in Cordova now for 165, 70 grand that'll rent for 1,400, 1,500. It's going to be mailbox money. They're never going to say anything to you. They're never going to talk to you. They're just going to pay their rent and go to work and live. Mm-hmm. So I very rarely, I don't even remember ever saying it's seller and buyer. It's a great time to go.
I feel like there's a little bit more immediate urgency for the seller.
If there's a tick, then it's there.
It's like, man, because you just don't know where's the buyer. It's like, because you just don't know if we've peaked, and that the buyer's just being ready and like looking for opportunities and advantages.
The windows for buyer almost doesn't get. The window for a buyer, I don't think, swells and goes down. Because if you can make up, like I'm paying more for houses now than I ever have, but if I can make them work in my system, what do I care?
You get
I'm
more
trying
rent
to pay them
for
off.
You borrowed cheaper.
I
mean, it's like there's so many factors.
That's right. So then that buyer window can always be there, right?
Yes,
Because I think I think when
Yes.
it goes down, you're good. Seller window, I don't think is always there, and I think that window is closing. I just do.
Seller's market. I mean, you can't describe the market today as a seller's market, frothy, like we did. Like, I mean, it was
6 months ago.
6 months ago, it was nightly headline news. I mean, multiple offers. I mean,
you and I talked about me selling some of mine. I don't have enough to sell. I'm not nearly near my goal. But I thought about it. It's like, golly, how
you
could
would
not?
be a fool not to.
The only reason,
just consider it.
The only reason I didn't is just I'm not at my numbers.
Yeah,
if I had my numbers,
sense,
whatever, then I would move them.
And
That's
now, if I were a seller, now would be a great time. And how many
Yeah.
conversations did you have that? And how many people are looking at themselves, kicking themselves?
I agree.
We know a few.
I know
who are
several
kicking-
right now
who
that
are
are kicking
kicking
themselves. They're probably down 10% of what they could have. And you know
And
what?
they could have had, I mean, asked nosebleed. Some of those guys were, it was like life-changing, generational changing for a couple of guys who we talked to with 100-plus portfolios.
And passed.
Maybe they got better things to do. That's okay. So
Thanks for your time.
enjoyed it.
It's a great show.
Yeah,
I mean, I went a little longer than what I thought we would.
Okay.
Great show. Good market update. If you guys have any questions, dean@crestcore.com, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube. Just search the Crestcore Real Estate Hour and you'll find it. Thanks again.
Oh, man.
All right, we'll see you in 2 weeks. We did a couple in a row here to get kind of caught up. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Let me know if you have questions. Reach out. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.